Welcome to this week's Cattle Call. I'm Susan Littlefield. A variety of things that we are going to check out with this market today. Of course, some interesting trade, including where we're seeing the bids coming. Box beef, we saw some higher numbers moving there. How much are we going to have to watch the slaughter? And we'll look at really what's been going on, finally moving past a lot of those tech issues we've been dealing with the plants and a lot more. Brad Kooima joins us. He is with Kooima and Varlick out of Sioux Center, Iowa. So let's start out. Feedlots passing on bids. What's going on there?
Oh, great question, Susan, because I think that really goes to the core of what's happened here lately. Um, I think anybody that's involved in the as a feeder has felt like a price taker, and that he's had really price determination in the last couple of years has been an absolute joke. Some of it's because of obviously the back-to-back swans, right? The Holcomb fire, then the COVID. Uh, but as a cattle feeder, so my brother sells my cattle, right? My fat cattle. Well, they're bidding 122. Yeah, well, what do? You take it, right? To the point where you don't even dare to hardly pass it once you finally get a bid. If you're a cash negotiator, like I am, and I thought that about 10 days ago or so, sometime maybe in the last 2 weeks, I thought maybe the country just felt like maybe they had just a little more arch in their back, and feeling like these packers were getting themselves a little more current. Getting some stories of packers buying cattle like last Friday and they died on Saturday, those sorts of things, cattle getting switched around and long hauled, all signs that maybe these packers are getting a little closer to the knife. And the ability to pass, dare I use the word leverage, I think has, what's firmed this cash market up more than anything else. So yeah, we went from last week, I think 124 bids to this morning. At one point, Susan, I had all four majors bid 126 to me: National, JBS, Tyson, and Cargill. Sorry. Ultimately, I ended up getting 127 to two different national or Packers. So the big four. So it feels much better. It's nice to have that cash market, leading the way, if you would. So slaughter's got a big deal to do with it too, though.
So can you say then that maybe leverage is getting back into the cattle, which is going to turn into advantage for the cattle guy? Maybe.
Boy, would I love to with a strong conviction, but I think there's a few things that have to change in a major way for us to feel like we really have leverage, like say back to 2014 kind of leverage. Yeah, we're making a little bit of progress. Some people continue to say, well, we just got too many cattle. That's not my view. But I'm encouraged by the fact that you have been able to harvest cattle here the last while. Last week's kill was huge, 661. We think you're going to kill even more than that this week. 3 days this week, all 122. That's a huge kill. The Packer still has big margins. And it appears as though some of the issues that he's been fighting, the absenteeism, the cooler cleanouts, the mechanical problems, the technical glitches, you name it. You don't kill 122 3 days in a row with a lot of, hiccups. So I feel better about the fact that we're getting through here. And yes, to your question though, we will get real leverage back at some point when we have less numbers. I'd like to think that we could get there a little bit quicker if we had more negotiated trade.
Are we going to have to keep a close eye on these slaughter numbers, especially when you look at how this week is traded?
If I were to say that there's one thing that if you're a fundamentalist, if there's one thing that you'd want to stay dialed in on, it's the slaughter level. So if you get to the where Packer starts to complain lack of margins, he's not going to go Saturdays and all this other stuff, cutting the kill, be ready to pivot. At this point though, the margins are so good, I don't think that they dare to do something like that.
But what about box beef? What's your thoughts on how they've been trading lately?
This is the time of year where we usually go higher, and I feel very confident that we will do exactly that again this year, led by the high price cuts, which is also normal as the system starts to procure and get all aligned for the holiday season. So I still got a wide choice select spread, still shows that demand is really, really good for the high end product. Demand's not the problem. Demand's excellent. We just need to get the backer to share some of those profits.
Well, you talk about demand being good though, Brad, but are we a little concerned we might start pricing out those consumers when they go to the grocery store and see what those numbers are?
I'm beyond frustrated about what just went through with that whole period. I think we actually reached that tipping point here a couple,
Okay.
3, 4 weeks ago. I know I heard stories from the big box stores. Take your guess who that means, but where they found out this $23, $24 ribeye stuff. There was indeed consumer resistance to it. So we don't throw this away. So what happens? It ends up getting discounted, and they find out, okay, that was enough. We've alienated now our consumer, right? So it's too bad that had to be on the backs of a deal where the producer didn't get to share in that record inflationary demand, record high price, and the only profiters were the retailer and the commercial, the packer. So yes, I'm glad to see that we got a correction again here. So we're back down to where they can get this price. I mean, even at this price, there's no reason why they should have had that retail price that high.
Is that open interest? I mean, you and I were talking before we started this that it's been very low. Is that going to continue?
I hope what happens is there's concern about the low open interest, and I am too. Everybody likes a bull market, right? I mean, it's pretty simple. You get a bull market, and the speculator will come in. The particular speculator that I'm talking about is the fund community. So whether it's an index fund or what's a trend following fund, frankly, I'm kind of encouraged that the overall open interest is this low. That tells me that they've got bullets, right? Dry powder, however you want to describe it, that if the market starts to turn up like this cattle market has, yesterday it closed above the 100-day moving average for the first time since the Dead Sea was still sick. And so that should be one signal there already that, hey, maybe it's safe to come back here, right? So a little follow through buying today. I'd love to see the open interest go up again today, but yeah, I think that's actually a positive underlying deal, that there's open interest is small, and maybe they'll come after us now, and maybe it's our turn finally, right?
All right. Well, thanks so much, Brad. That's this week's cattle call. And just a reminder, commodity futures and options involve substantial risk of loss and are not suitable to all investors. That's a cattle call. I'm Susan Littlefield here on the Rural Radio Network.